Welcome back to Humber Pie. I'm your host, Jimmy D. Today we got another special one for you. Another deck that we've been testing out, getting ready for that Nationals that's coming up here in February. I'm really super excited to showcase this matchup. It was a lot of fun. This is a deck that's been a pet deck for one of my other players who's hoping to get in the last chance qualifier and get himself into the finals if he can hopefully do pretty well during the last chance qualifier on the Friday leading up to the event. It's one of the decks that I'm actually even tempting myself to. I might actually consider as one of the top three, if you will. It is a deck that could potentially be something that I'd want to play in this finals. We're getting a lot of practice with a lot of the top decks, obviously doing a lot of proxying. This one, fortunately, not a lot of proxies on this one. All I can show you all the decks, the cards are available now, currently, and with the Demon Slayer Volume 2 being released. I know that some other creators out there, like Pro DM Joey, was definitely speccing this deck particularly because he really thought this one was going to be an explosive, amazing deck. And I can understand why. We put it together and we were kind of sleeping on it. A lot of us were talking about what the blue was going to do when these two new decks that you had, like the Tanjiro and Nezuko combo, or you had the Mitsuri, and the other, I forget the other guy's name, but that individual, they were different ways with the Nietzsche sword combos and techniques you could do with blue. And sometimes in Volume 2, the additional color really kind of falls flat. In this one, I think it fell actually pretty strong. And there are some great methods and attacks with it. I don't think it's as consistent as necessary for a high-level competitive play. But I'll say if you're going to put it and bring it to a best of three, or like 3 rounds of a best of one, or maybe 4 rounds of a best of one, you can easily take down a tournament with this deck. Very consistent in a lot of ways, and sometimes just takes a little bit of tweaking in the appropriate player to understand the complexities that come with the blue deck. Now, one of the easier decks, to a degree, to build and play and pilot is the new Red Rengoku. It was originally introduced with kind of not a lot of support. It was kind of the weaker of the two red colors. You could play the Wives deck, the Tengen Wives deck in red during Volume 1. And that one had its own win cons and had its own playstyles and definitely had some decks that it had an advantage against. But the Rengoku was just feeling flat. It didn't have a lot of the new tools and assets it needed in order to be a consistent deck, and you really didn't know what you were kind of splashing with it. Were you throwing in the Beastman Inosuke, or were you throwing in maybe some Zenitsu type of combos to kind of feed the gaps that were missing from what you would need to make a full 50 card deck? Now, with Volume 2 out, Rengoku actually has quite a few new cards that are in the Rengoku family and in synergy with what Rengoku's trying to accomplish. Now you have a deck that not only with consistency creep that we're seeing with the evolving games of Union Arena, but also now with some power creep with it as well. This deck already had a nice little potential, if you had the cards in hand, to have at least 8 pieces of removal. It was a weaker version of the Mustang Blue that we've seen from the Brotherhood versus Full Metal Alchemist, excuse me. So many different IPs in this one, but that Mustang build was absolutely devastating. The attack, discard, popping characters. Now all decks are really relying on having at least 8 pieces of removal. This one with potentially 12 pieces of removal and a lot of good synergy with it, and that is absolutely insane when you want to talk about consistency and removing characters. I think I talked enough about it to your face. You guys need to check it out. I have the deck list in front of me. Let's check out our deck list for today and this amazing matchup between the new Red Rengoku and the upgraded non-ban list, because thank you Union Arena for making this a good deck again, Blue JJK Sukuna. So starting off, I'd say the only thing that's just kind of weak in this one is you got to really fill it with some zero costs that really don't fit in theme. You're not going to get a whole lot of value out of these outside of just the get triggers and the active triggers. Of course, you need to play with 12 zero costs just to make sure you're being as consistent as possible. And this is how this deck works. But we did get this brand new Rengoku that has the draw discard, which if you guys have been watching the channel long enough, you know that this is an absolute must-have in all of your decks. I don't care if it's on theme or in theme. This one luckily in theme and has a raid that you can raid atop of this, which makes it even more powerful when you have a card that you desperately want to have to make sure that you get more consistent draws, more consistent plays, and you see the right cards and the right combos in any deck that you might want to play in Union Arena. Then we have a 1 cost that just came out here, very strong, helping out with the extra energy, because that 6 energy in red often is a lot to ask. Red is not known for having a lot of double pips and quality double pip action that allows you to make sure that you have the energy, which is essentially at least minimum 2 double pips and 2 regular pips, maybe 3 double pips in the back row. Not always easy to do in a 50 card deck when not everything has availability, and this one kind of gives you options. You can search the top of your deck for the top 3 to reveal one and discard, or you can, if you have 5 or more energy generation, make this a 6 energy generation. So for 1, put this back on play, make sure you have the 6 for the raid target, and you're cooking with gas for this Rengoku deck. Another special treat that came out, unfortunately no trigger, however extremely good in a deck that requires you to discard for most of its effects and abilities. This one, once you discard, draw a card. Even if you start off for the game with a draw discard, you can draw two, essentially, with this card in hand. A very good card, using the mother to make sure that you're keeping your hand size up, because you definitely don't want to lose too much of your resources from hand to make sure that you can come back from massive swings. Make sure you can keep the tempo going in your favor, and you want to make sure that you have some answers for it, because there's a lot of discard requirements from here that require you to help you make this engine go burr. Another one from the 2-color, this is the color trigger here. From the new set here, we had to place one card from your hand to the sideline. Once per turn, the next time you choose a character with an ability or specialties of BP this turn, it's 1,000 of the specified BP range. So basically what it's saying is, like, whenever you discard and requires a BP, you can increase that by 1,000 for the selected target, which is going to be really relevant and really what makes this a key target in today's meta. Not to mention, with so much red Kenshin going around, having something like this to pop some of those lower characters, it's a great counter for the red Kenshin out there, with you being able to, one, play the color, but two, also have a more consistent deck that can go a little bit wider and maybe doesn't dump all of its resources on its first big swing. This one definitely has some rebuild capability. Of course, we start off with a 3-cost Rengoku. This one, if you're in the front line, place one card from your hand to the sideline. All characters gain 500 BP. While nice, it's good. It gets you a 4K if you want to. This one isn't too often used. However, with the previous Rengoku, it can make your characters basically plus 1,000, which is pretty strong for a nice little discard. This is an ad to make sure you have the double pip. Very few cards within red that allow you to really powerhouse with a powerful synergy card that allow you the double pip. But this one has a trigger and has step, so you can move it in the back if you're getting rushed down by maybe another red deck or running Kenshin deck. It allows you to make sure that you can move in the back line as you try to deter attacks coming through. Getting into the father, another one of the double pips is absolutely necessary. This one, again, without trigger, which is unfortunate, and one of the few weaknesses this deck really has, in the fact that you do have to play with all of these cards without trigger just to make sure the synergy line works. But you have to play this one. You got to get the double pips. It also synergizes very well. You can give this character plus 1,000 for a 4K attack when it's attacking, or you can draw a card, which is also really essential, especially in the late game pushes, to make sure you can refill your hand. Going into the 4-cost, 1 action point, the nullify impact. If from the front line this character gains other Rengoku cannot be targeted by snipe, other than Rengoku, which, let's be real, guys, this is a 4K body. You're using it for the 4K body, and also when sidelined, choose up to one character on your field with, other than him, gains plus 1,000 power. Maybe you're using it for the father. Maybe you're using it for the Inosuke, if they're sadly in the front line for some odd situation. But it's a nullify impact, it's a 4K body, and that's essentially what this is. There's really no other ways around it. This is a great support for some of the other red decks out there, but in itself, it's really just a restand trigger, also nullify impact, which can be quite powerful, not to mention just a nice 4K body. Getting into our first big removal plays, this one costing 2 action points as required, which should be expected considering we have something that has a removal. You do play this one active when you pay the 2, which is extremely good. 4K active right out the go. Then you may place one card from your hand into your sideline, and if you do, choose up to one character with 3,000 less BP on your opponent's front line and sideline it. This character gains impact after it until end of turn. Really strong. It means if you combo with that color trigger we're talking about, now you can KO a 4K or less. So here's 4 more copies of 4 more removal with a card that comes in active and can start swinging potentially with impact in the late game. Then you have the raid. During your turn, if you have placed a card from your hand to your sideline with an ability or event card of Rengoku, cards in this character gains plus 500 and impact, so you got a 5K impact, massive swing in the late game. Place any number of cards from your hand into your sideline. Choose up to one character with 3,000 less BP, and of course it grows by each card by 500. So if you use the color again, you just have to discard 1. When played, now you have a 45 attacker that actually technically would be 5,000 because you use the color trigger, or the color trigger's ability. And now you have 5K impact, and you're removing something on play. That's an additional 4. Moving on to the next 4, you've got the special. And now we're talking 12 pieces of removal that can get rid of 4,000 or 5,000 BP characters on every single one of these plays. No deck right now in Union Arena, in my opinion, has a consistent way of ensuring that you can have 12 pieces of removal for 4K bodies at a regular pace and ensure that you basically can answer any threat that comes your way. The only downside here, no final triggers. We got 2. We're trying 2. We actually went down to absolutely none in a rebuild in here, something that we were testing out before. But the original one we were testing today just had the 2 final triggers. This one, it was kind of like, oh, do we put it in here? Sometimes it's kind of nice to extend your turn if necessary for an explosive turn. But in reality, this is red, guys. You're trying to go fast, and most red decks really don't play the final triggers. They don't need them. They already rush their hand. They spend most of their resources in the first couple turns dropping their entire hand on the board, rushing the board. What's the point? So maybe you can find some room for it. And I'd say the only other downside of this deck, if you guys can find me a list that can run Tasty, now we're talking. The deck list is tight. We have a lot of synergy with the Rengokus, but Tasty just... It would be the card that would make this deck so incredibly more consistent, considering you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, grab a Rengoku, and just add it to your hand, so you're just basically grabbing the one you need. The downside is you won't be able to get the removal, and so you might bottom deck some removal if you do it, but you can guarantee get the right Rengoku you're looking for at the right time, whether it needs to be the 2 AP cost or the 1 AP raid, or maybe even just one of the double pips or something you're trying to get your energy line back up there with like the 1 cost, if you will. So extremely good deck. We had to cut it. We couldn't figure out the room for Tasty, but definitely a great option for this deck. This is the one that's been the most consistent in our practice plays, has been extremely explosive. I wish I recorded half the games I played against this deck, because it really feels difficult on the opposite end, seeing how often it can just answer your board state with whatever threat you address it with. But you know, it does what it does best. I'd say when it comes down to it, the only weakness is your life triggers are going to be a little bit low. You're only at 40 for the triggers for this deck, and you're really just I don't know what else to even say. The deck is everything you want in this current meta. It has some great matchups. It has some bad matchups, just like anything in Union Arena. The right 50. You guys tell me. Now going into the Sukuna build here. You've seen this quite a few times on the camera, so I'm not going to waste too much of your time. If you want some full in-depth, listen to the first time I usually do the deck decks. That's when I'm really going to go in deep and talk longer about what this deck is trying to accomplish, especially if it's my first time covering the channel, like I did with Rengoku. This one, just know that this is one of the more consistent decks that came up way back when. It was so consistent they had to ban the 2-cost Yuji. This thing allowing you to dig through your deck to get one of those fingers to make sure you fill up your deck, because this deck does require those Sukuna fingers to make sure that you can activate most of the abilities and put those devastating finishers to rest here, especially with some of the powerful raids we'll get into in a minute. But Sukuna's finger is kind of like what this deck does. It wants to find those Sukuna's fingers, it wants to put it in the yard, and it wants to be able to start hitting you. The unfortunate part is it was banned in conjunction with another raid. You couldn't use the correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here, but I believe it was this 5-cost raid. It was one of the raids from here that you could not use it in conjunction with the 2-cost. And that just means that the deck's consistency was a little bit falling behind. It was still very powerful when it was around. It was still a top tier deck, and still, in my opinion, even before the ban, was still considered a top 10 deck within Union Arena. Now, with its consistency at her back, with getting that 2-cost back, it's just that powerhouse that was originally going to literally dominate the entire meta. But with Volume 2 releasing, we got some more characters that can produce double pips to make sure that we can get to our high energy cost of 7, which again is very much very high ask to get in something that's a blue deck, getting a 7 cost out, because 7, 8, 9, 10, those kind of characters really should be in green. Those are the big characters that have these big in plays. This one, of course, coming in with a static impact and a win played ability where you can do certain things based on the number of fingers you have in the yard. You could draw a card. All characters on your opponent's side lose 2,000 BP until the end of the turn, and choose up to one character with, choose one character with 2,500 less BP in your opponent's side and sideline it. Okay, not terribly or 35, sorry. Not the strongest removal, but a nice removal. You have a 5k body too on top of that with an impact. You're playing all your basic final triggers and getting your special with the Virgin Fist. Nothing really special about this, just your standard special trigger at 4 costs, removing a 3 or a 5k based on parameter of this one requiring UG on field. The other powerful card in here, the Sight, one of the few decks that really powerhouse with Sights. The amount of Sukuna fingers can give your Sukunas certain abilities with 2 or more. You can get damage 2, so if you have the snipe one, it's like you got a choice: snipe, damage 2, or I'm sorry, impact or damage 2. Next one with 3 or more, you can snipe, so now you can choose which character to do if you have the impact. And God bless if they get to 4, they get the impact +1. So if it has impact 1, it's now damage 2 and impact 2, which is absolutely frightening and can definitely close out some games. And I think you've seen a few on this channel already do that. Anytime you want to look at these deck lists, please go check them out on experts.dev on my Humble Pie account. We post all of the deck lists that we're testing and trying out outside of the Asian ones. Once they come to America, I actually recreate those lists for the most up-to-date version of it when we're doing those test decks with those proxies. So if you want to wait a couple more weeks, we're going to be releasing the list that we're making for Evangelion and for the Sword Art Online Volume 2. And you can check that out. Or you can check out my Patreon down below, where I post pictures of the decks that we're building and post those pictures from the Asian site, because I don't really have an Asian experts account. Maybe I can make that. I don't know. Right? I digress. I usually just lean into the Japanese meta to find out what exactly is good in their meta and use them as experts, since they actually have the cards that can read through them and kind of make their own best judgment based on their own competitive play. And since all I can do is really proxy, I'm going to take their lead on it. Not to mention they've been leading the market on some of the best players in the world. So trust your professionals in this degree. All right, we're going to cut into another video with the music playing. Make sure you're paying attention. All the cards, no proxies this time, so you don't need to reference another deck list while watching it. Hope you enjoy this content. We got a best of 3 on its way. This could be game 1. This could be game 2. I'm being as easy as I can to make sure I can get as many videos out there. But I hope you enjoy it. We've got a great couple of videos coming with us and another matchup after this, and I'm really excited to cover. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for being here. Hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you help this channel grow and help us get into the big monetization of 500 people and maybe even more. And of course, if you want some free packs, tune in live on Saturdays where I go live with Union Arena content, everything standard legal, everything that's available, and give you guys commentary on exactly what's the meta, how we play the games, and even give away some free packs. Until next time, stay Humbro.
losing my mind in a wave of you. Swept me up like the ocean blue. Can't lie, gotta face the truth. I'm falling harder than I wanted to. And they say don't go diving in too deep, but I'm already diving in so carelessly. Swept me up like the ocean blue. Can't lie, gotta face the truth. I'm falling harder than I wanted to. And they say don't go diving in too deep, but I'm already diving in so carelessly. Your tide is getting harder to resist, but I don't mind. Honestly, I could get used to this. My mind in a wave of you swept me up like the ocean blue. Can't lie, gotta face the truth. I'm falling harder than I wanted to. And they say don't go diving in too deep, but I'm already diving in so carelessly. Your tide is getting hard to resist, but I don't mind. Honestly, I could get used to this.
And that's going to do it for this round. If you've been here this long, hit the like and subscribe button. Help us out. We're a growing channel and just trying to get out as many TCGs and coverage for you guys at home. Brought to you mostly by the people you're seeing scroll over here, my Patreons. The ones that help me fund and do everything I can to try to expand this channel to cover multitudes of different TCGs that you are seeing here. You like the one you're watching now? That's great. We also have other things that you might like, from a broad spectrum of the Bondi to the new League of Legends, Riftbound games, and other independents like Alpha Clash. We like to cover as many games here, and I love all these TCGs. Most of the time I take part in. If you guys are liking this content though, please help us grow, help us get into the point where we can improve our quality of content for you, and get to the point where you guys really get the product that you deserve. Thank you for being here as always. This is going to be it for today. I hope to see you in the next video. That might be listed up here. I don't know, editor, can you help me out?